video is going to be taking into effect a lot of shoulders and upper body, and we're also going to be using some postures and some positions that you can go into when you're in a sitting down state. So a lot of the time when we're sitting, and I'm just going to go through this right from the beginning because I think it is so important. A lot of the time when we're sitting and the way that our body structure is a lot of the time we're actually sitting on our spine and our vertebrae instead of sitting on the sit bones, which is if you visualize the human body and the glute muscles, the sit bones would actually be slightly underneath of the glute muscles. So to begin with, I'm just going to show you kind of how when you are sitting, and again, please practice this a lot this week. It'll be very important to get in the habit of what it feels like to have your sit bones connected to the surface that you're sitting on, and what it feels like to not have those sit bones connected. So just coming from a side angle here. When you do sit down, a lot of the time we sit down and we don't think too much of it, and especially if we're in a space or in a state of communication, or we're on the computer, or we're doing work that's fairly repetitive throughout the day, our posture just ends up becoming more and more, and a lot of us would understand this because we catch ourselves doing it, but a lot more hunched and a lot more curved, especially in that lower lumbar, which puts, of course, so much pressure in and around the vertebrae of that lower back. So when you're sitting, right now I'm not sitting on my sit bones, and I can feel it because my posture, even my digestive system, so my large intestines, everything's getting compressed. Everything's getting kind of shoved and kind of pushed into where it doesn't naturally flow. It doesn't naturally have support. So a big part of this, and I can go into this for so long, but for today's purposes, we're just going to kind of tune into it because it's very valuable. Today I want to just really get into the shoulders, the lower back, and the hip area. So when you're in a sitting position, any type of sitting position, this happens to be a flat seat, but even and especially so when you sit on something that has a little bit of cushion, you want to just ever so slightly lean forward and grab hold of the fleshy part of the glutes, so literally your bum muscles. As you pull those muscles, or as you pull those glutes out and away, you'll kind of notice that your hips or your tailbone kind of almost lift and kind of expand themselves up towards the ceiling or up towards the sky. So as you do that, it just helps to reposition your pelvis. And again, you'll notice that I'm not crisscrossing my feet. I'm trying to have my feet nice and stable. As soon as you do cross your feet, again, it shifts everything in the hips. And it's not a bad thing. It's most of the population does these habits, but as soon as your hips are shifted, now you can almost see my whole torso has to now shift back over this way. So it's shifting this way, my upper body has to shift this way, and then my neck and my shoulders almost have to shift this way. So it can really start to see, and I'm one of the ones that I work on mostly for myself even. It's so common to see where our bodies are constantly making those little adjustments, and they can really have a big effect to where our aches and pains are coming from on the day-to-day basis. So when you're doing this exercise as best as you can, this video is specifically for people that do find themselves sitting a lot of the time, or do find themselves in this position, and it can make just such a world of difference if you can just have a little note somewhere that reminds you, sit bones, remind. Your body will actually become accustomed to it. At first it'll feel very forced, and because you are actually engaging your muscles, you're going to grab hold and you're going to just allow your body, get a cushion behind your lower back if you need that. Do what you need to do. Make sure your feet are nice and solid. And again, if you have pedals, or if you're doing anything, working with the arms, pedals, or even working in the desk, really make sure you have any type of tools or any type of support that you need within. Again, if you're there in a working day, it's really worth it to really set up your station. So if your feet aren't touching, or if you do use a lot of pedals back and forth, that again is just going to shift those hips forward. Make sure that you kind of almost have a landing pad underneath your feet that reminds you to bring your feet back down to center whenever you can. Another piece too is if you need support here, or if you do need like a slightly different if you're already noticing that you have a lot of lower back issues, it can be something to look into to find some type of seat or support that you can literally allow your body to adjust into it, so it's almost like a foamy, and that can sometimes help just to soften some of the pressure that has already been put on your spine, and just help you again to really alleviate and begin to build that strength, not only within the vertebrae but also within our core muscles. And remembering that our core muscles are our tummy, our side body, our back, our muscles all the way up to our back, that goes all the way up to our neck and our shoulders. So that is actually really, when it comes down to it, that's our whole core area. If you're in this position and again your body just ends up taking on a really curvature, very protective space, it stops breathing, it stops digestion, it stops a lot of work that is needed to happen on a daily basis to allow your body to function at just a bare minimum.